The courtroom doors were heavy. I pushed them open and stepped inside. My mother saw me first. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck. My father just shook his head, like I was a disappointing kid who forgot her homework. They were sitting at the petitioner's table with their lawyer, a man in a $1,500 suit. I was alone. The judge looked up from her notes. "Miss Carter, do you have representation today?" I set my briefcase on the respondent's table. Took a breath. "Your Honor, I'll be representing myself. I passed the bar 3 months ago." The room went silent. My mother's mouth fell open. My father leaned forward, squinting like he'd misheard. Their attorney's pen stopped mid-note. The judge raised one eyebrow. "Counselor," she said slowly, "you may proceed." I opened my briefcase. Inside were 3 binders. 4 years of proof. Did they really think I'd walk in here defenseless? Before we go any further, drop your country and the time in the comments. And if you believe parents don't always know best, hit that subscribe button, because what happened next changed everything. Let me rewind. I grew up in a house where image was everything. My parents threw charity galas, drove the right cars, sent my older brother to the right schools. I was the mistake. The daughter who got pregnant at 19. I still remember the night I told them. My mother's face went white. My father stood up so fast his chair tipped over. "You'll give it up for adoption," he said. "Or you're on your own." I moved out the next week. Studio apartment, 400 square feet. I worked the night shift at a packaging warehouse and took my classes online. My daughter Emma was born on a Tuesday. I held her in that hospital room alone and made a promise. We'd be okay. I finished my undergrad in 3 years. Then I did something they never saw coming. I enrolled in law school. Part-time, online. While Emma napped, I studied torts. While she watched cartoons, I briefed cases. My professor, Dr. Miriam Lang, was the first person who believed in me. "Evidence wins wars," she told me. "So document everything." I took that advice seriously. Every text message, every email, every voicemail. I saved it all in a cloud folder. I had no idea I'd need those files to fight the people who were supposed to love me. I passed the bar on my second try. My parents never knew I'd even applied. And for 4 years, Emma and I lived our life. Quiet, happy, free. Until 6 weeks ago when they knocked on my door. They showed up with coffee and smiles. "Sweetheart," my mother said, holding out a latte. "We've been thinking. We want to be part of Emma's life." 4 years of silence. Not one birthday card. Not one phone call. And now this. We sat in a cafe 2 blocks from my apartment. My father did most of the talking. "You're doing an amazing job," he said. "But you're so young. So overwhelmed." I wasn't overwhelmed. I'd just made junior paralegal at my firm. But I didn't correct him. "We'd like to help," my mother added. "Maybe Emma could stay with us on weekends. Just while you finish school." I'd already graduated. They didn't know. "We're fine," I said. "But thank you." My father leaned in. "There's also the matter of your grandmother's trust. Emma's entitled to it, you know. $200,000. There it was. "It's locked until she's older," I said carefully. "And I'm her legal guardian." "Of course," my mother said too quickly. "We just want to make sure it's managed properly." I finished my coffee and left. A week later, a process server knocked on my door. "Emergency petition for custody." My parents were suing me. The document was 19 pages long. Allegations of neglect, mental instability, unsafe living conditions. Every single line was a lie. And the hearing was set for 30 days. I read that petition 3 times. 19 pages of fiction. Respondent frequently leaves minor child with strangers. That was my babysitter, a retired teacher I'd known for 2 years. Respondent exhibits erratic and unstable behavior. I'd missed one PTA meeting because of a work deadline. Living conditions pose a health risk. My apartment passed every inspection. But each lie was detailed. Dates, times, locations. Someone had been watching me. The next day, my boss pulled me aside. "We got a call," she said. "An anonymous complaint about you." I don't believe it, but I have to ask, is everything okay? Then the daycare director, a woman claiming to be Emma's grandmother, stopped by. She seemed concerned. Just wanted to give you a heads up. My mother. I started getting texts from friends. Hey, heard your parents are back in your life. That's great, right? They were building a narrative, planting seeds, and their lawyer was expensive, connected. I sat at my kitchen table that night, Emma asleep in the next room. How do you fight people who will lie under oath about their own grandchild? For a moment, just a moment, I thought about giving in. Maybe supervised visits would be enough. But then I looked at the petition again, the trust fund clause, and I knew this wasn't about Emma. It never was. I opened my laptop, navigated to the cloud folder I'd kept for 4 years, and I started pulling files. First, text messages. Every birthday, I'd sent my parents a photo of Emma. Every holiday. Every first day of school. 67 messages over 4 years. Not one reply. Not one happy birthday. Not one how is she. Radio silence. Next, the letters. 3 of them. Certified mail. Signed return receipts. In the first one, I'd offered supervised visits. In the second, co-parenting counseling. In the third, professional mediation. I'd bent over backward to let them into Emma's life. All 3 letters were ignored. I had the green return cards. My father's signature on each one. Proof of delivery. Proof they'd seen my offers. Proof they hadn't cared. Until now. I cross-referenced the dates. The last letter I sent? 14 months ago. The trust fund vested in Emma's name 11 months ago. The custody petition filing 6 weeks ago. The timeline was damning. They didn't want their granddaughter. They wanted her money. But that was just the beginning. Because I had something else. Something that would prove they were the dangerous ones. I printed everything, organized it into binders, and I started writing my response. I wasn't running. Not this time. My parents didn't wait for the hearing. They escalated. My mother started showing up at Emma's school, playing the concerned grandmother role. She'd stand by the fence at pickup, talking to other parents. I just worry about her, you know? Single mom, so much stress. Word got back to me fast. Then my landlord called. Listen, I got a weird complaint. Someone's saying there's unsafe conditions in your unit. I have to do an inspection. I knew it was my father. The inspector came. Looked around. Found nothing. You're fine, he said. Cleanest apartment on the floor. But the message was clear. They were tightening the circle. Their attorney filed a motion for interim custody. Emergency relief. The argument, imminent risk to the child's welfare. I wrote a 10-page opposition in 2 nights. The judge denied their motion. But her ruling included a warning. A respondent is advised to take these proceedings seriously. The court expects both parties to act in the child's best interest. Translation? You're on thin ice. 14 days until the hearing. I got an anonymous text that night. Just sign over guardianship. You'll still see her. Don't make this ugly. I blocked the number. Called my old professor. They're trying to bury me before I even get in the room, I said. Dr. Lang's voice was steady. Then don't let them control the narrative. You're a lawyer now. Act like one. She was right. I had the receipts. Now I just needed the rest of the story. I spent 2 days at the public library, microfiche, database archives, court records. I was looking for a pattern, and I found it. 1998, a CPS case in our old county. A neighbor had filed a complaint, alleged emotional abuse and volatile outbursts. The child's name was redacted, but I knew it was me. I was 9 years old. I'd buried the memory. The case was closed after 6 weeks. My parents hired a lawyer and moved us 2 towns over. No follow-up. No investigation. Just money and distance. The pattern was repeating. When they didn't get their way, they weaponized the system. But that wasn't all. I pulled Emma's credit report. You can do that as a legal guardian. There was an inquiry from 2 months ago. Unauthorized. Hard pull. Someone had tried to open a credit card in my daughter's name. It was declined. She's 7 years old. But the attempt was logged. The issuing bank's fraud department had flagged it. I filed a dispute and requested the application details. The signature on the digital form didn't match mine. It matched my mother's. They weren't just after the trust fund. They were already treating my daughter like an asset to liquidate. I printed both records. CPS case, credit inquiry, Exhibit C, Exhibit F. Now I knew exactly who I was dealing with. And I knew exactly what to do. I needed one more piece, the why. Dr. Lang helped me pull public financial records, liens, judgments, foreclosure notices. All public information if you know where to look. And there it was. My parents were drowning. Credit card debt, $180,000. Second mortgage, underwater by $60,000. My father's business, a consulting firm he'd bragged about for years, had filed for bankruptcy 18 months ago. Creditor lawsuits, wage garnishments, the whole collapse. They were desperate. The trust fund wasn't just appealing. It was their lifeline. If they won custody, they'd petition the court as guardians, access the funds for Emma's care and education, and siphon every dollar before she turned 18. The math was brutal. They needed $200,000. Emma had $200,000. I was the only thing standing in the way. So they built a case to remove me. It wasn't about love. It wasn't about family. It was about survival. Theirs, not hers. I sat back in my chair. For the first time in weeks, I felt calm. I understood the game, and I knew how to win it. I wasn't angry anymore. I was ready. I pulled up a blank document and started drafting my counter motion. 40 pages. 8 exhibits. Every receipt I had. I was done being the victim. It was time to be the lawyer. I made 3 moves. First, I filed a counter motion. 40 pages. 8 exhibits. A request to dismiss the petition with prejudice and issue a protective order. I included everything. The ignored outreach. The CPS case. The credit fraud. The financial desperation. Clean, organized, undeniable. Second, I contacted the trust administrator, sent a formal fraud alert with a copy of the credit inquiry and dispute report. Within 2 hours, the trust was frozen pending a court order. No one could touch it. Not me, not them. Not anyone. Third, I filed a complaint with the State Bar's ethics hotline. Their attorney had submitted statements to the court without verifying the facts. Potential Rule 11 violation. I wasn't trying to get him disbarred, but I wanted it on record. I didn't hire a lawyer. I didn't need one. I had the law. I had the truth. And I had 3 binders of proof. The night before the hearing, I pressed my one good blazer, printed my exhibits in triplicate, rehearsed my opening statement in the mirror. Emma was staying with my neighbor, a retired family court clerk who'd offered to help. I kissed my daughter goodnight. "Where are you going, Mama?" she asked. "To court," I said. "To make sure we stay together." "Are you scared?" I smiled. Not anymore. The next morning, I walked into that courtroom, alone, ready. The judge called the hearing to order at 9 a.m. My parents sat across the aisle with their attorney, confident, polished. They thought I was a kid playing dress-up. The judge asked if I had representation. "Your Honor, I'll be representing myself. I passed the state bar this past April." My mother's face went pale. My father leaned forward like he'd misheard. Their attorney's pen froze mid-note. The judge nodded slowly. "Counselor Carter, you may proceed after the petitioner presents their case." Their lawyer stood, gave a polished opening. "Your Honor, my clients are loving grandparents seeking to protect their granddaughter from an unstable and neglectful environment." Boilerplate, rehearsed. He submitted their evidence. Character statements from people who'd never met me. Photos of their house. Financial records showing they were stable. Those records were 18 months old. Before the bankruptcy. When he finished, the judge turned to me. "Miss Carter?" I stood. Opened my first binder. "Your Honor, I'd like to present 8 exhibits that tell a very different story." I connected my laptop to the courtroom screen. Exhibit A appeared. 67 text messages. 4 years of outreach. 0 replies. Petitioners claim to be loving grandparents, but they ignored every birthday, every holiday, every attempt at contact. I clicked to the next slide. Exhibit B, 3 certified letters. Green return receipts with my father's signature. I offered supervised visits, counseling, mediation. They refused all 3. My mother started whispering to their attorney. He waved her off. Exhibit C, the CPS case from 1998. Your Honor, petitioners have a documented history of weaponizing child welfare systems when they don't get their way. Their attorney stood. Objection, relevance. Overruled, the judge said. Continue, counselor. Exhibit F, the credit inquiry. Emma's name, unauthorized signature. 2 months ago, someone attempted to open a credit card in my 7-year-old daughter's name. The signature matches the petitioner, my mother. Gasps from the gallery. My father tried to stand. Their attorney pulled him back down. Exhibit G, the financial records, debts, liens, foreclosure. Petitioners are facing bankruptcy. My daughter has a $200,000 trust fund. This petition was filed 30 days after they learned about that fund. I closed the laptop, looked at the judge. Your Honor, this case isn't about my daughter's welfare. It's about money. The evidence is clear. I respectfully request dismissal with prejudice and a protective order. The courtroom was silent. The judge took off her glasses. I'm going to take a brief recess. 5 minutes felt like an hour. When she returned, her face was stone. I've reviewed the exhibits. Petition dismissed with prejudice. Protective order granted for 12 months. And I'm forwarding Exhibit F to the district attorney's office for review. She looked at my parents. This court does not look kindly on those who weaponize the system for financial gain. 1 strike of the gavel. We're adjourned. I packed my binders, walked out, didn't look back. The next week was quiet. My parents' attorney withdrew from 2 other cases he was handling. The bar opened an ethics investigation. I don't know what happened with that. It's confidential. But he stopped practicing family law. My parents sent 1 email. We're sorry. We were desperate. We made a mistake. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my file. Evidence in case they violated the protective order. They didn't. The district attorney reviewed the credit inquiry. Decided not to file charges. Insufficient evidence of intent. I wasn't surprised. Fraud cases are hard to prove. But it was on record, logged, documented. If they ever tried again, that history would follow them. I changed Emma's school. Found a new apartment across town. Fresh start. The trust fund stayed frozen for 60 days while the administrator ran a full audit. No irregularities, no other access attempts. It was reopened with a new fiduciary, independent, court-appointed. Emma won't touch it until she's 25. And that's exactly how it should be. I started my own practice 6 months later. Family law, sliding scale fees, pro bono every Friday. I represent parents who can't afford big firms. The ones who get steamrolled by money and connections. I know what that feels like. My office is small. 2 rooms above a dry cleaner. But it's mine. Emma asks about her grandparents sometimes. Will I ever see them? I answer honestly. Maybe one day if they change. But right now, we're safe. And that's what matters. She nods. Goes back to her homework. She's 8 now. Happy. Thriving. She doesn't know the full story yet. One day I'll tell her. I'll show her the binders. The receipts. The court order. And I'll tell her what I learned. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because they share your blood. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're self-respect. Protect your peace. Document everything. And never underestimate yourself. The people who underestimate you are the ones who'll be shocked when you win. My parents rolled their eyes when I walked into that courtroom. They thought I was still that scared 19-year-old. But I wasn't. I was a mother, a lawyer, a woman who'd built a life from nothing. And I had the receipts to prove it. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had to set a hard boundary with family? How did you know it was time? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and if this resonated, hit subscribe. You're not alone. There are more of us than you think. One last thing. This story is a fictionalized dramatization. It's not legal or financial advice. If you're facing a custody issue or family conflict, please consult a licensed attorney in your area. But know this, you're stronger than you think. And the truth, when it's organized and undeniable, is the most powerful weapon you have. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.